Situations made a man of me. That is expected, I'm exactly who I plan to be. I looked my mama in the eyes and told her we gon' make it. How could I go anyway but her? Now I'm sitting at your grave, reminiscing all the time that I wasted. I can't make it up.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the L.U.V podcast. You got your host here, L.U.V Jones.
And it's your boy Drake.
And today we got a very special guest, man. We got Brian, aka the infamous CPA, man. How you doing, bro?
Man, I'm doing good, man. Thank y'all for having me.
Yes, sir.
No problem, man. No problem.
So, for the viewers who may not know you at home, do you mind introducing yourself?
Yeah, so Brian Robinson, aka the CPA. Started my career as a CPA, then shortly transitioned. So now I'm known for real estate, as well as the car rental business. So those are the two main things that I'm doing now. But yeah, in a nutshell, I mean, that's who I am and what I do.
Oh, man. And so before I get into the car rental business, and I just wanted to talk about, so what is actually a CPA?
Yeah, so a CPA is a certified public accountant. And basically, the underlying premise of what a CPA does is ensure that there's trust in the marketplace. So basically, at least from my perspective, I was an auditor for one of the big four accounting companies. And basically our job was to make sure that whatever companies that we're auditing has solid numbers, like they're not misstating their numbers or whatever, because investors and a ton of other people who they consider stakeholders are relying on that information in order to make, sound investment decisions. So that's the underlying basis of what a CPA is. It's a ton of different CPAs. Like everybody do taxes. Like you got forensic accountants. You got a ton of different accountants. So in a nutshell, yeah, that's basically what a CPA is and what they do.
For sure. Because I only ever heard about CPAs doing taxes. I didn't even know it was different branches of it. So that's what's up. When did you become a certified public accountant?
So when was that? So officially it had to be the fall of 2018. So I had in the spring of 2017, I actually started studying for my exam after getting my bachelor's degree in accounting. And the exam was 4 parts. I took all 4 that summer, passed them all, and then you got to work for a year at an accounting firm to actually get officially licensed. So yeah, my journey took about a year. Yeah.
That's what's up. Salute to you for getting CPA. I remember, I believe it was beginning of 2020. I dived into like doing taxes. I wasn't a CPA though. I didn't take that course, but I did. I was doing taxes for people. And yeah. So I know you mentioned briefly about the courses you provide. Do you want to dive deeper into those?
It's called the Car Rental Blueprint, where essentially, I walk through from A to Z, how to get started in the car rental business, how to manage your business, how to automate, and how to scale your business as well. And then I'm currently revamping my house hacking course. And for those who don't know what house hacking is, it's essentially where you buy a single or multifamily building, and if it's a single family, you're renting out the rooms, or if it's a multifamily, you're renting out the other units, and the goal is to live for free or to live for way less than you would typically do, to eliminate your biggest expense, which is typically rent. So most people pay 30 to 50% of their gross income every single month to rent, which is crazy. So when you eliminate that expense, man, it opens up so many different possibilities for your finances, man. So yeah, those are the two main courses that I sell right now. But I also have other courses like one called Monetize Your Genius, which I don't really market like that. But essentially, that's giving people the info to actually monetize whatever genius they have, whatever skill they have, whatever it is.
Yeah. And you said the house hacking. That is something that is definitely something I want to get into, because I'm doing real estate, but I'm not doing the houses. Like I'm dealing with land. So I'm a land investor, and so you was talking about how you definitely want to be able to live basically for free. You rent out, like if you get a multi-family home, you rent out the other apartment unit. I think that's something I definitely want to get into, and yeah, that's a great way to start off for real.
Yeah, I definitely recommend it, man, because a lot of people don't realize, like, once you have that solid foundation, you get the expenses low while your income is steadily increasing.
Right.
It's really crazy. Like, because what happened to me was, you know, I bought my first building for 140 grand, renovated, put 50 grand into it. So I was all in at 190, and then, you know, it was a 3-unit, so I lived in a basement, and I had 2 tenants in the other 2 units. And, you know, my expenses after mortgage, taxes, interest, and all of that, I was paying about $1,800, but I was bringing in $2,100 in rent. So all my expenses was covered, and then on top of that, I was still getting paid $300 just to live there, instead of going somewhere else and paying, you know, $1,200-$1,300 for a 1-bedroom in Chicago. Now I'm saving that money every single month and getting some money on top of it. So it was crazy.
Right.
That's dope for real. Like, I dream about doing that one day for real. Like,
No, for sure.
I know as rent climbs, like you definitely want to be able to at least have your expenses covered, because
Exactly.
like rent already starting to get $1,500 just for a standard apartment, 2-bedroom. So like 5 years, the standard probably gonna be $2,000. So
yeah,
it's crazy.
Yeah, I didn't realize how crazy rent was until I started renting. So I actually sold all my buildings last year. So now I'm renting, but I just started back looking for another building to house hack again. Right now I'm paying $1,600 for a 1-bedroom. It's crazy.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous.
I know you did.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Can you talk about your rental car business? How does that work?
Yeah, so in a rental car business, you're renting your car out for 2 different purposes. So one is going to be to people who want to use your car to make money. And that's going to be on a platform called Hired Car, where people drive Uber, they drive Lyft, or they do delivery services like Uber Eats and Grubhub. Whereas on platforms like Turo, people are using your car just for leisure. Maybe they're on vacation, they want to rent a car, and they don't really want to go to one of those major rental car platforms because they're more expensive. And you don't really get to choose your car. You just get to choose your car type. So that's Turo. But what I love about the rental car business is that, man, it has a very low cost of entry. So whereas, you know, with real estate, you may have to put a couple grand down to get started. Like if you want to actually own the property, with the car rental business, you can get started with $1,000 and you can get, you know, multiple vehicles off that $1,000, right?
Okay.
But on the flip side too, it's very, very passive. So I spend like 3 hours max, typically way less than that, typically like an hour, hour and a half managing my business every single month. Like it's really ridiculous.
How would you suggest somebody go about doing that? Like, do you suggest like someone going out and like leasing the vehicle and then like running the business and like rotating vehicles like throughout the month or throughout, you know, like their quarters? Or do you suggest somebody actually like buy the vehicle or go in and like go purchase a vehicle like they normally would at a dealership and then do it that way and just get them or get the renters to pay off your car note?
Yeah. So yeah, you definitely have option. That's a great point, man. I definitely advise financing or leasing. So what I like about leasing is the fact that you can trade out your car, you know, every couple of years, and you have, you know, limited liability because you're doing so. But on the flip side, when you're leasing, they have mileage limits. Right. So your income is kind of limited based on whatever mileage limit you select for that individual vehicle, right? On the flip side, when you're financing a vehicle, you have advantages because one, you're not going to be paying that loan down, right? Your renter's going to be paying it down, or the business is going to be paying it down. Yeah. And when you're financing, you have a little bit more leverage because you can go to different banks where they'll allow you up to get multiple vehicles under your business name at one time with just one inquiry, right? So that allows you to scale much, much faster versus than just leasing. Okay. So I definitely recommend using OPM. And I typically recommend my students to finance rather than leasing or paying cash, but leasing is definitely a play as well.
Okay.
Yeah, that's dope. I think like I maybe heard about the rental car business, like as far as like what you was just stated, but like it's still like a vague topic, and like I feel like for a lot of people they don't even know that you can even tap into the market that way.
Facts. Because we know a lot of people like that have nice cars, you know, like barely like nice cars, and like they can easily be like supplementing some income from their car also.
Definitely. If you work from home, you can definitely just list your car up, or if you have especially another vehicle, you can definitely put that car up on Taijoura or something and just get side income like that.
Yeah, that's a fact. That's actually how I got started, because I was working crazy hours as a CPA, working 70-hour weeks. So I wasn't driving my car at all. And I was paying $500 a month between, you know, my car insurance and my car note. Those are no brainer. Once I found out about the business, I literally took photos of the vehicle. It was a 2016 Ford Fusion. Took photos, got an Uber and Lyft inspection because I was doing hire car at the time. So rented to Uber and Lyft drivers, and then literally put it on the platform. It was rented the next day, and that person had the car for 36 days. And I made $1,200. So I cash flowed $700 just in my first experience, and that let me know that this business had a lot of opportunity. And then I just started buying cars like crazy.
Wow, yeah, now I know that more than doubled what you had to pay per month. So you pocketed at least $600.
Yeah, exactly.
So that's great. Like, and so I know you talked about basically what led you to start your car rental business, but what made you start like basically the house hacking, and what made you want to turn those ideas into courses?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so with house hacking, it all started when I realized corporate was a scam. So after my first year in corporate, man, I worked my ass off, and you know, when it came bonus time, when it came, you know, review time or whatever, I realized that, you know, a lot of times you can be performing exceptionally, but if you don't necessarily subscribe to the whole system in terms of, you know, going out with coworkers, networking, all of that stuff, right? It does, your performance is just, you know, one thing that they look at, right? Yeah. So once I realized that, I'm like, okay, well, I can't really rely on this job, even though, you know, it's a lot of job security in public accounting because the turnover is so high. So it's a lot of job security because people leave. But I realized I didn't want to rely on them. So I'm like, okay, well, I need to make money outside of this job. And I was reading an article one day that said 90% of millionaires own real estate in some form, way, or fashion, right? So that was my next logical step. I actually started shadowing one of my fraternity brothers who flip houses. So every day after work, you know, I would go to one of his projects, and then, you know, I would work, I would learn, et cetera, et cetera. And then I started saving up for my own property. I wanted to house hack. But then, you know, I kind of got priced out. Chicago's market is the top of the market, or at least what I thought was the top of the market. And I wasn't really too keen on doing a renovation at first because I was fearful. So, you know, I stopped looking for a couple of months, and that's when I ran into the car rental business. But house hacking was always appealing to me because I wanted to get rid of that housing expense. And what I realized after, you know, doing the whole process is that it was so many people who want to do the same thing, but not only that, that I was getting flooded with I couldn't really impact people the way I wanted to. So it was kind of a no-brainer turning both of those into courses. So I'm like, okay, well, now I can help people at scale, and then I can also, you know, make money while doing so. And the results were crazy. Like my first month selling the car rental course, I made 16 grand. And that was the most money I had ever made in a month, coming from a situation where I was only making at that time 72 grand a year at that, you know, particular 9 to 5. So it was a crazy life-changing experience, and it's continuing to change my life today.
Yeah, man. Hey, congrats to you, man. 'Cause I already know, like, that would be an amazing month for me, you know.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, that would be a stellar month for me. Like,
You went over a couple of things. Like you said that you shadowed one of your frat brothers. You also seen people within the spaces that you were in that you could kind of like look at, like, for examples, what other resources did you use to kind of get to where you are now? Specifically, I'm gonna ask you about the car rental business. Actually, again, we will double back to that just because I've had a lot of people that asked us about like renting cars, so I need our viewers to get as much info as they possibly can.
Yeah. So back when I started out, so I started out in the car rental business in the fall of 2018, and it wasn't a lot of resources. It wasn't a lot of people doing it. So I got introduced to it by one of my homies. One of my homies was actually renting cars, and he told me about it, and that's when I jumped on it right away. So I actually partnered with him because I don't believe in reinventing the wheel. Like if somebody that's doing it on a higher level than you, it's a no-brainer to just get the information and get there way faster, and not have to repeat their mistakes. So I partnered with him, so I wasn't starting from zero. But then everything else that I learned from experience. So outside of a lot of people in the space today who maybe take a course and then they do well and then they create their own course, I really learned from mostly experience, and then one of my guys, but he didn't take me 0 to 10. He took me 0 to like 2.5. And then I had to figure out the rest on my own, as I scaled.
Exactly.
And like, what was also some maybe some roadblocks you faced while you was pursuing that?
The first thing a lot of people don't realize, like when you have ambition and you want to get into businesses where you got to leverage your credit, you need to be creative. So for me, my end goal was always to buy real estate. I got into the car rental business because I wanted to increase my cash flow in order to purchase a building, right? So I couldn't necessarily put a ton of vehicles in my personal name because they would increase my debt to income ratio.
Right.
For those who don't know what that is, it's essentially what lenders use to evaluate how much debt you can take on. So if you make $3,000 a month gross and you got 1,000 debt payments between student loans, car loans, things of that nature, then your debt to income ratio is 30%. But most people's debt to income ratio is much, much higher, right?
Yeah.
If it's too high, you won't get approved, or you won't get approved for as much as you're trying to get approved for. So I actually had to get creative, and that's why I formed a lot of strategic partnerships in the beginning where I would just split the business 50-50, but in terms of purchasing the vehicles, I would use my partner's credit in order to get the vehicles, leveraging my own. Like to this day, I only have one vehicle in my personal name outside of my fleet, which was just scaled to 18 to 20 cars at one point. So that was the biggest roadblock. And then outside of that, it was really the operations. Like I learned so much on the go since I didn't have anybody to look to in order for information for the most part. So I got cars stolen in the beginning of the business. I had no way to track them. But I fixed that now where we have GPS trackers and all our vehicles. We also have shut-off devices. So let's say a renter is late and they're not responding to any of your messages. Well, now I can actually disable the vehicle. And then I know I'm going to get a call from them real quick. Yeah. Now, the vehicle won't start, yada, yada, yada. It's like, yeah, I know because you didn't pay, right? Yeah. And now, since I got location on the vehicles, I can always go repo my own car at any moment. So that was helpful. That was one roadblock I faced that I fixed. Then another one was.
Okay. I was just gonna ask real quick: does repoing your own car, does that add an expense to that, or is that part of the service?
What do you mean?
Is that something you have to pay out of pocket when you repossess your own car, or is that something that's covered by the platform that you're using?
Yeah, so it depends on the platform. If you're on Turo, if something happens to your vehicle, they will actually tow your vehicle for free to wherever you need it to be, right? But on hire car, it's a little bit different as far as late payments. But only thing you're really paying for is you're paying for the tracker. In terms of repoing your car, you literally just find a location, drive over there, or Uber over there, and just get in the car. Because I always tell my students, you need to have 2 sets of keys. For that particular reason, you need to repo your car, you can just get it. You don't got to worry about the other key from a guest or anything like that. But on the flip side, guests lose keys too. Like I've had that happen a couple of times where they'll just lose the key, and now I don't have to worry about losing time. Because if somebody lose your key and you don't got a backup key, well, now you got to call a locksmith. And that locksmith, not only it takes time to get to you, it takes time for them to actually rekey the vehicle versus you already having to spare. So it's little things like that that a lot of people wouldn't even know. They wouldn't even think about it, right? Because you really don't know what you don't know. That's why it's very important to really have a blueprint, have a coach, have someone who's doing whatever you're doing, whatever you're trying to do on a bigger scale. Because you just able to skip so many mistakes. This candle is killing me. It's moving in my mouth. But yeah.
That's interesting. Yeah, I just wanted to ask that because like I know you was talking about they don't pay, like, you know, you feel me? They don't pay. They could just before you had the trackers, they could just basically have a car. So
exactly.
It's definitely
that's real.
Yeah.
I didn't think about it either. Yeah.
They have a car, you know. They have a car. So
yeah, it's definitely necessary, man. Like I've had people early on in my, car rental experience. They had a car for like a month before I could get it back. Because, I would try. I literally used to be doing wild goose chases, like looking at their ID, trying to go to the address that's on their ID or that's on their profile, trying to see if I can catch the car, like reporting the car stolen, all type of stuff, right? And I even had, cars stolen early on, and that was the issue. Even though I recovered the vehicles or the police found them, it was just a hassle. Versus now, I can just get the location, in 2 seconds. So, man, it's super beneficial. I wouldn't recommend anybody rent any cars without being able to track them or being able to disable them. You're just putting so much at risk.
Yeah. That's a huge liability to have. That's an asset that you literally just got out there floating with no protection.
Right.
Exactly.
So let's go back to your CPA business. What do you think are the best ways that people can make sure that their debt to income ratio isn't too high, and also like the best way to, like, if you haven't dabbled into into managing money, the best way, or some platforms that'll help you learn more about managing money?
Yeah, so in terms of making sure your debt to income ratio isn't crazy, like the first thing you really got to do, man, you got to get rid of these bad money habits. Like a lot of people that come from lower income backgrounds like myself, we don't even realize that we don't have our own financial identity, because a lot of times what we do is we just take on the financial identity of everybody around us. So if everybody around us spending money on designers, spending money on clothes, shoes, whatever it is, we're going to do them same things without even realizing it. So once you realize that you don't really have your own financial identity, you can say, okay, well, I made all these mistakes in the past, but I can forgive myself very easily because I was just repeating what everybody else was doing, right? So now I have an opportunity to kind of redesign what I like to call my money blueprint, right? So now you got to focus on your education. You got to actually learn, okay, well, how have I been thinking versus how the wealthy think? So what money moves do they typically make versus what I'm doing now? And you just got to implement some of those wealthy habits and be a continual learner. So I would also definitely recommend, you got to read. Like, you can't get out of reading, you can't get out of listening to podcasts, you can't get out of the education phase of your journey. Like, it's mandatory. You just gotta do it first and foremost, right? And then as far as just manage your money in general, like I always tell people, it's a simple hack, right? So what most people do is they suck at managing their money because they typically have 2 accounts. They got one checking and they got one savings. So when they're spending, they pay for their bills and they pay for their general spending outside of that one checking account. So as soon as you overspend on general spending, clothes, whatever it is, you automatically mess up your bill money. But if you separate, you break everything out, you make it super, super easy. So what I do is I have an income account. So all my income comes into this one account from on the personal side, and then I got a bill account. So now, since I have a budget, I say, okay, maybe my bill is $2,000 a month. I know if I'm getting paid from a 9 to 5, I'm getting paid twice a month. Every time I get paid, I need to throw $1,000 in my bill account. So now my bills are already covered. And then, whatever else I can put in my spend account based on my budget, as well as, my different savings accounts too. So now it just makes it way easier for me as far as, bills and spending goes. And then also on the savings side, it makes it easier too, because now I have multiple savings accounts. I got one for my emergency fund, and then I got one for, investment savings. So I pay a percentage of my income towards investment savings whenever I want to buy stocks and buy real estate, whatever it is. Then I also have a travel savings too. So that way, if an emergency hits, I don't have one savings account that I'm taking money out of. It's all broken out. So now, emergencies don't impact investments or travel or anything like that. So I just make it easy on myself. And a lot of people, they make it harder on themselves because they don't necessarily have that education. Like they don't know better, so they can't do better.
And I'm glad you brought that up. I was going to mention that because I seen you just made a video about that on Instagram. Is there any other ways like people can start like living from paycheck to paycheck?
Yeah, well, you just really got to get in control of your finances. But a lot of people, money management is their issue, but also they don't make enough money. So you really gotta find ways to make more money too. Whether that's getting a better 9-to-5 with high income things that don't require college degrees or require a lot of money up front, like insurance adjusting is a huge hot topic right now. A lot of people making 5 figures a month doing that. Or going to these different tech things. Like I know I don't know if y'all know V's, capital SB, or I think it's our Instagram or Twitter or whatever. She talks a lot about overseas contracting or something like that. So just finding ways to make more money, whether that's starting a new business, side hustle, whatever it is. Most people need to make more money and they need to manage their money better. So once you can do those 2 things, as well as skill up your financial education, you'll really be golden. I typically manage my money in a lot of spreadsheets. That's what works best for me. Whether you manage it on paper, whether you're using an app, whatever it is, you really got to figure out what works for you. So it's kind of a trial and error thing when you get it started. But once you figure it out, it lasts, for the rest of your life for the most part.
Yeah,
for sure.
And what are some good investments you recommend? You recommend for everybody, or some investments you're looking into right now?
Especially like starting out.
Yeah, starting out, man, I'll say I don't even know I'll say the best investment. I think real estate is just one of the most solid investments. But what I'm finding now is a lot of different investments out there where they're less of a headache. You put way less time into them. You can get way bigger returns than real estate, but real estate is just like that foundation, right? But crypto is really good. I don't invest as much in crypto as I want to because I haven't put enough effort into fully understanding, but I'm getting into like DeFi kingdoms and things of that nature. Stocks is always a great investment. I think everybody should know how to trade stocks, and you don't have to be trading options or anything like that. I think everybody should know how to read a chart because stocks gonna be around forever, man.
Right, definitely.
So if you can get to stocks very early on, you get your Roth IRA, your 401ks, things of that nature. You can really set yourself up, down the line very, very easily. Outside of that, if you're a little bit more advanced, you got a little bit more capital. One thing I did recently, I bought an Amazon store, so I'm getting ready. I have somebody, fully operating that. It's fully automated. That's just going to bring some passive income.
Wow.
I think the best thing you really can do, if you have the mental fortitude to do it, is really starting a business, because your income is unlimited. Whereas, with a job or anything like that, it's mostly capped. But starting a business, you have unlimited. You have an unlimited amount of income. As long as you can impact, X amount of people, you can make money every single day. So. Right. Business is definitely, I think, the best way to do it, but everybody isn't meant to be business owners.
Right. Yeah, I agree. A lot of people maybe don't have I ain't gonna say like the mental capacity, but like maybe they just don't know how to run a business, and that's okay. But there's other ways they could definitely improve their income.
That's a fact.
And so in this part of the podcast, we like to call this the Fast Five. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna ask you 5 rapid fire questions, and you got 1 minute to answer, and they're gonna be deep questions.
All right, so let's see.
All right, so you ready? Timer. All right. So, how do you define success?
Man, success. Man, I think success is really being able to do whatever you want with those you want, like whenever you so choose. For me, that's my idea of success. It's not financial or anything like that. It's being able to have that freedom, but also being able to be happy at the same time.
Right.
So having freedom and being happy is how I would define success for me.
Yeah, I agree. And what are some ways you boost your self-love?
Man, some ways you can boost your self-love. I think first and foremost, you got to talk to yourself. Like, you got to talk to yourself in a positive manner. Like, that self-talk is crazy. Because a lot of people, they'll jokingly say bad stuff about themselves. And what people don't realize, their subconscious records all that. Your subconscious doesn't have any type of discernment. So positive self-talk. And then if you say you're gonna do something, do it.
Yeah,
that's the biggest way to build self-confidence, to build trust in yourself. Just staying true to what you say you're gonna do, actually doing it and doing that over and over again. So being disciplined.
Definitely, I definitely agree with that. And what are some ways we can get ahead as a community?
As a community, man, we gotta practice group economics. I think a lot of people gotta stop giving their talents to these corporations, and they gotta put that back into the community. Successful entrepreneurs gotta invest back in the community, and I think a lot of people need to move back into these communities and really help. Like, the educational system isn't gonna do it for us, so we really gotta take things into our own hand and have a very, very high level of accountability. And I think we need more business owners for need-based businesses, so gas stations, grocery stores, things of that nature, right? Because a lot of people come into our communities and they create those businesses, and we flock to them versus us putting our dollars back into our own pockets and to our own community. So we need more need-based businesses for sure.
Absolutely.
Agreed.
Yeah. And what is one question you wish we asked you, and how would you answer that?
One question you wish you asked me. How would I answer? Damn, that's a good ass question. Man, I would say just more questions about my upbringing, because a lot of people, and how I answer it is, a lot of people, they see successful people and they focus on where they are now, but they don't focus on everything they had to do to get there. So for me, growing up, I struggled with self-confidence. I struggle with self-confidence. I struggle with communication. I struggle with, being a leader. I struggle with tapping into my own potential, right? So I want people to realize that, I'm like everybody else. I grew up in a low-income neighborhood, didn't really have a lot of self-confidence. I did well in school, but I didn't really try. I didn't really put my best foot forward. So once people realize that, a lot of successful people are very, very similar to them, I think that gives them confidence that, if they can do it, I can do it too, especially if they look like me.
Yeah, absolutely.
Totally agree.
Yeah, because a lot of people, we go through the same things. Like, just like you said, I struggle with confidence as well, and I'm not where I want to be at yet, but I know I'm taking the right steps to get there, and I will get there shortly and exceed my expectations. But yeah, it took a while for me to even switch my mindset, because just like you were saying earlier, how people kind of jokingly talk bad about themselves. When you constantly hear that from your peers, you kind of just start saying that to yourself anyway, And I feel like just changing those even that bad habit, just talking to yourself better each day, and just turning it sounds cliche, but really, if you talk positively to yourself, like, eventually your mood is going to change. You're going to gain more confidence. You're going to become that man or woman that you set out to be. So I definitely agree with positive self-talk. That's why we preach self-love and mental health on this podcast, because
affirmations are key. Affirmations are key. You got to talk to
Definitely.
let yourself know that you can do it, because at the end of the day, you're still a person too. You
Yeah.
can like you can feel, you can hear, and even your thoughts. Like your thoughts can taint the way that you present your outside self to reality.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So you definitely gotta get in tune inside first before you can even think about progressing in your outside life.
Yeah, absolutely. It starts here. You know what I'm saying? It don't matter how much. Faith and work's got to go hand in hand. You can believe you can do some stuff, do anything, but you don't put the work in, it's not going to work. You can put 100 hours into it, but if you don't believe it's going to work, it's not going to work. So like it goes hand in hand. So it starts here, and then you gotta work it towards your outside. So,
Exactly.
Yeah. And
yeah, that's a fact. That remind me of my favorite book. It's called Secrets of the Millionaire Mind. And he had a quote in there that says, thoughts lead to feelings, feelings lead to actions, actions lead to results. So yeah, it all started in that mental, man. Your mental is directly gonna impact your feelings, man. You know, most people, if they ain't feeling like it, they ain't doing it.
Yeah, exactly.
Facts.
Yeah,
And that's what
It stop you right in your tracks.
Okay, what it is, making a sandwich or either go and graduate. Like it's the same.
Exactly.
I agree with that. And I got one bonus question for you. This is one of my favorite questions to ask people. What's one memory? If you could hold on to one memory from your life forever, what would it be?
One memory. I would say it would be my high school graduation, because this really, changed my life. Because in high school, I was one of those people who I was just smart, right? I was just smart. I didn't have to try, and I can just get a 3.0 like as a baseline without even trying. So when I graduated, I was seeing all these people graduate in front of me in my class, and I was pissed off because I knew that graduated ahead of me in the class, right? And because I knew that I let them outwork me, right? And that really lit a fire inside of me and really made me realize that, people only can outwork you if you let them. And I really held on to that feeling, all throughout college and still today. And that's really why I go so hard. So I would definitely hold on to that memory forever, because, man, it really just taught me that valuable lesson.
Man, yeah. Sometimes it just like anybody just need to find a click, like they have to find it for themselves. And like that was your click. I found my click when I had cut my hair a few years ago. I grown it back, but that was my click to change what I was doing, because I wasn't progressing as a man like I wanted to progress, and I needed to make a change. So my hair was like down here, and to some people it's hair, but like I wanted to start from inside and then work my way from head to toe. So yeah, I definitely feel you on that. And
that's a bar.
And so what's next for you in the short term and the long term?
And the short term, my main focus is getting a lot of capital. I got about 6 figures invested in this real estate deal. I'm building 3 single family homes in Chicago. Buying at least 2 multifamily properties this year. And my overall goal this year is to make $2 million. So I want this to be my first $1 million a year, but I'm gonna double that and try to make it $2 million. I'm really big on business credit right now, so I'm trying to scale up to $250K in business credit, so I can make sure that I have plenty of capital in others people's money instead of using my own. I'm really looking forward to traveling this year as well, traveling to like 5 countries. And I really want to help people. I really want to help 1,000 people buy multifamily properties this year. That's my big goal. Help 1,000 people get into the car rental business as well. So that's really what's next for me in the short term as far as this year. Long term, man, I'm really looking forward to, my biggest goal is probably to create, some traditions within my own family, rooted around, creating different programs where people can learn how to love themselves, learn how to be more confident, learn how to be more financially stable, learn about pretty much everything financially that, I've learned about, because I have a lot of people in my family that's, still in poverty, whether that's extended family, close family, whatever, right? But since, I'm so focused on my mission, I know that I got to get to a point that I'm comfortable with before I go and reach back because I don't want to, stunt my growth, because if I stunt my growth, I'm essentially stunting their growth as well, because I'm not able to impact them to my fullest capacity. So that's my biggest long-term goal.
I am rooting you on. I definitely know you're gonna reach those goals, and that's definitely that's powerful, honestly, because it's good when you become successful, but when you can help others, it's a different feeling,
Yeah, definitely.
Like I always like shout out to Earth, and it's his birthday today, so happy birthday to you, Earth. He told me that like your impact is beyond you. You know what I'm saying? 'Cause you don't know what you mean to somebody else, truly.
Yep.
Like, cause you never know the impact you have. So, yeah. So the fact that you're out here, you're trying to bring people on, but making sure you're good first, and then you're bringing people on, so that way you're not hindering your growth and their growth. You're not leading them astray. Like, hats off to you, and
yes, sir. Appreciate you.
Yes, sir. And the traditions, like I'm definitely with you on that. I'm definitely going to leave family traditions for generations after me, especially learning how to build their self-love, because we need that. We definitely
that's
need
a
that.
fact.
Yeah, especially as Black men.
Mm-hmm.
And so where can the viewers find you at home?
Yeah, so I'm on Twitter and Instagram at TheInfamousCPA. Those are the two main platforms that I'm on. I'm always dropping gems on there. I'm also on TikTok now. The people got me on TikTok at The Infamous CPA as well, so trying to build my following there too. But yeah, those are the main places you can find me.
I don't know if you had either started or hopped into some of these Twitter spaces, bro, but everybody's really receptive to any information that goes on those. Like I've learned everything from how to sell my NFTs the right way to how to flip comic books in these Twitter spaces. So if you ever need like just an outlet, that's a good outlet. Like people listen on Twitter.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to get in those. I've been seeing them, but I've literally never clicked on one. So I'm gonna hop in one of those one of these days.
And they're paying people now. Like Twitter is actually paying people for being able to get that engagement to their spaces and create monthly people that come back and listen to their stuff. So yeah, man, that might be something that you can look at. Especially since you have courses, that might be something that you can pair with your course.
For sure.
I'm definitely gonna get into that as well.
Yeah, I remember Instagram was paying the bag a couple months ago for people doing Instagram lives and all of that. So yeah, it's probably the same type of setup.
Yeah. So we want to personally thank you for being a part of this. We want to thank you for hopping aboard, and for everybody at home, remember, it's all love, and we out.
Grateful that you're faithful.